Jougun, Jougun, and Jougun. Yeah, maybe this is a topic that, because so many people keep talking about it, a lot of others are starting to feel sick and tired of it. Everyone keeps mentioning Jougun, and everyone expects that Jougun will awaken sometime soon. Yeah, I admit that I myself have said the same things about Jougun too, especially since our biggest expectations are pinned on the upcoming Chapter 23, the climax point that will determine whether it's Momoshiki who emerges or Jougun itself, right? But today, there's a topic, an analysis, or even a prediction that's far more interesting than Jougun itself. And that is Momoshiki and Boruto. Finally, they team up, just like Naruto and Kurama. However, in this case, Momoshiki helps Boruto to defeat Kawaki. And let me repeat once more. Momoshiki and Boruto have finally teamed up like Kurama and Naruto, and they're working together to take down Kawaki. I don't know if you've heard this theory or analysis before, but try to consider it and think it through. The main point of this discussion lies in the very first scene in both the Boruto manga and anime, especially that epic final battle between Kawaki and Boruto at the Hokage Monument. First and most importantly, what do you actually see in Boruto's eye? I mean, in the manga, when Boruto activates his karma, is that the Jugan, or is it actually the Byakugan? I'm sure that the moment I say Byakugan, many of you will immediately think it's nonsense, or even I'm stupid, right? But let me explain first, guys. First, assume the eyes in the manga, that is Byakugan. Boruto has succeeded in awakening Byakugan with his own consciousness without being intervened by Momoshiki. Because somehow, if you look in detail at the shape in the manga and also the anime adaptation, the pupils of the eyes in the manga are more familiar with Byakugan than with Jougun itself, right? Is this a mistake, or is this not a coincidence but has another purpose? But in this case, the first assumption about the eyes in the manga, I assumed that Boruto managed to control his karma, and that was also the point where Boruto managed to use the Momoshiki ability for the first time. And again, I say, I suspect that when Boruto first managed to control his karma and used Momoshiki's abilities, that was the Byakugan, not the Jugan. Just relax and let me finish this first. We know as an Otsutsuki, and although we don't know the full original history and how the relationship or the reason why Momoshiki has Byakugan, but at least this is the main point why I said at the beginning. If Boruto managed to control Momoshiki's power, which one of them is Byakugan? In other words, it can also be assumed that Momoshiki cooperated with Boruto to defeat Kawaki in his last mode. But I want to hear your opinion first about this, guys. Which information is valid in the early chapters and the first scene in the anime? Jugan or Byakugan? If indeed this is Byakugan but the adaptation in the anime is Jugan, is this purely a mistake or is it because of entertainment needs? It means like this, guys. The reason why Boruto's eye in the manga isn't the Jugan is because not everything that appears in the anime has to be the same in the manga at the same time, and vice versa. Some things might have been intentionally changed or modified, possibly as clickbait or to grab the attention of Naruto fans and the like. As a form of media, they obviously have to think about specific strategies to make things look more appealing and impressive, especially since the majority of Boruto's audience are hardcore Naruto fans who naturally have high expectations for Boruto himself. Sorry if I'm bad at representing this, but I hope you get the point. Actually, if we read the manga and also watch every scene across the Naruto and Boruto universe, this kind of thing happens all the time. At least in the Boruto arc, one clear example of inconsistency can be seen during Sarada's fight against Boro. If you look carefully in the manga story in the chapter Sarada fights against Boro, Sarada is shown activating the Sharingan with 3 Tomei, while in the anime adaptation, Sarada only awakens 2 Tomei. Why is this inconsistent? Is this purely a misunderstanding, or is it intentional? Shouldn't every adaptation in the anime as a reference be the manga, right? But if you ask what the answer is, one of the most rational answers is because of different interests. Regardless of the miss of information and communication, maybe this is a form of entertainment to attract a wider range and attention of fans. But I want to hear what you think about this. But from there, many finally thought that Jugan at the beginning of the manga story could not be Jugan, because once again, the anime adaptation only took advantage of that moment to attract the attention of the Naruto fandom, who had long retired or were not even interested in Boruto. But I am also not denial and consider it completely that it is Jugan. The reason I'm saying it's the Byakugan is based on analysis. It's not an absolute fact. However, if you're one of those who still believe that the eye shown in the early chapters is the Jugan, there are actually some pretty valid reasons to support that too. One of them is the shape of the eye. It looks different from the Byakugan that Boruto has shown, especially during his fight against Code. If you look carefully, the Byakugan that appears in Boruto's eyes, whether when Momoshiki takes over Boruto's body or when Boruto manages to awaken it himself, is completely different from the eyes we saw in the first chapter. In the first chapter, the circles in the center of his eyes appear to be the same size as the circles in his normal eyes. This means that what Boruto experienced was not a change to Byakugan eyes, but it was a new form of change. If the eyes were Byakugan eyes, the circles in the center of his eyes should look bigger than his normal eyes. This was clearly depicted by Mikio when Boruto fought against Code. Because, either way, this different design depiction already shows that what Mikio drew in the first chapter was not Byakugan, but indeed Jugan. After all, how could an anime company create a force called Jugan based on their own ideas, right? The Boruto anime company used Jugan because Kishimoto in the manga did not show the name of the eye that Boruto appeared when fighting Kawaki. The anime company must have known in advance the name of the eye that Boruto appeared when Kishimoto gave them the main script. If it was Jugan, then it wasn't the first time Boruto mastered the Karma Momoshiki. It could be that the moment when Boruto mastered Karma Momoshiki happened around a few chapters earlier. And as the final conclusion, if it really is the Byakugan shown in the manga and not the Jugan, then can we say that in the end, Momoshiki and Boruto might form a bond similar to Naruto and Kurama? I admit it's a hard idea to accept, especially since Kurama and Momoshiki are two completely different entities with very different goals. But do you think it's impossible? Despite everything, maybe deep down we all share the same hope, that Boruto and Momoshiki could eventually work together like Naruto and Kurama once did. Still, that's just hope and expectation, because in the end, it's Masashi Kishimoto who decides everything. All we can do is analyze and predict. And from everything I've said so far, I'm not denying whatever's in your mind or your personal opinions. But based on those two possibilities and all the analysis, what do you guys think is more likely? Whatever your thoughts are, let's talk about it in the comments. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm Nim. See you in the next episode. Bye-bye, Data Bio.